Hi, everybody. I'm Rob Benedict.
And my name, well, I'm called Richard Spate Jr.
Yes, that's right. You are. And we are talking about Season 3, Episode 8, A Very Supernatural Christmas.
Very, very supernatural Christmas.
So excited. I won't talk about it yet till we get through the summary, but...
Don't say a word about it, Robbie, until we get through the summary.
Okay, so just so everyone knows, we are live streaming our review of this episode for our Patreon members. Plus,
we are live.
Right, we are actually live, and we're doing a Q&A afterwards that's going to be only for our Patreon people.
Q&A.
So if that sounds like something you'd like to be a part of, think about joining, won't you? It's
think about it.
Yeah, it's an exclusive place to watch us struggle through live streaming technology.
I got news for you. If you listen to this podcast regularly and you are not right now looking at Rob's glasses, I'm not sure what you're even bothering for. I mean, you got to be a part of this podcast. You got to see those spectacles looking at you, boring holes through you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Yeah. Robbie's got it going on, man.
Yeah, but
and if you, you know what? If you don't join Patreon, I get it because you're afraid.
Yeah.
Of the power of the Benedict.
Right.
I get it. But all I'm going to say, it's like going to the gym or any other challenge. You're not going to know until you get in there and try.
That's right.
Until you load it up and just do your best. And then you know what? You might surprise yourself.
That's true.
You might surprise yourself.
It's really true. If you're not on Patreon, you don't even see the glasses. If you're not on Patreon, this is what I look like right now. No glasses.
That's right. Somehow joining Patreon draws glasses on his face.
Yeah. It's like a filter. All right, let's get into the episode, shall we?
No, hard pass. I'm going to call it. Bye, buddy.
Thanks for joining, everyone. It's Christmas time, and Sam and Dean head to Michigan to investigate several disappearances where the victims were brutally pulled up a chimney. Dean tells Sam he'd like to celebrate Christmas. Sam is hesitant. He doesn't have fond memories of Christmas. Dad was never there for them. And we see Sam's memory of a Christmas in 1991. He has wrapped a present for Dad and tells Dean he hopes their father shows up.
Remember your Christmas 1991? You were a junior in college and just hosed the entire holiday season, hoping to get out of the house and go hang with your buddies. I remember you told stories.
That's actually very, very true.
I know.
The brothers suspect the disappearances are because of an, quote, anti-claus, a type of evil Santa that steals people. At first, they suspect a local drunkard Santa, but he's not it. But that was sad. It was sad. Local drunk Santa was sad.
Yeah, that wasn't, that's the kind of Santa you go, you know what? Hard times for that guy.
Yeah. And creepy. Sam figures out that all the victims had Christmas wreaths made from meadowsweet, a plant once used to attract pagan gods. Sam explains to Dean that many Christmas traditions are actually based on pagan rituals. The brothers track down the maker of the wreaths, Madge and Edward Kerrigan. Sam and Dean pay a visit to Madge and Edward's home. The cheerful couple is super into Christmas. Lawn ornaments, giant gingerbread houses, over-the-top Christmas sweaters, and guess what? They are also pagan gods.
Wow.
We return to the flashback of a 1991 Christmas.
Rob Benedict's hose sitting in the living room, waiting for the clock to tick by to the moment where he can make his escape and go hang out with his buddies in his town of Columbia, Missouri, and catch up on what life has been like now that they're 3 years out of high school.
Yeah, just so hungover the whole Christmas.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, Lord.
But for the boys, in their 1991 Christmas, little Dean has tried to put together a happy Christmas for Sam, but inadvertently, I think he advertently stole gifts from the neighbors. But turns out it was a girl neighbor, more traditional girl toys like Barbies and batons.
Now, why do you say they're girl toys?
I think I was avoiding having to say boy toy.
May I say, you know what they also could have stolen? You know what he could have stolen for Sammy?
My glasses?
Rob Benedict, because in those glasses, you're a boy toy. He could have wrapped you up in newspaper and handed you over to his brother.
Certainly, anyway, it was a sad Christmas for little Sam. Little Sam gives Dean the present he was going to give Dad. It's the amulet that Dean still wears as an adult. I thought that was kind of cool.
I thought that was very neat.
Sam and Dean break into the Kerrigan's house and find a murder basement complete with tools, bloody bones, a grimy Santa suit, and a victim still in a red sack. Edward and Madge get the jump on Sam and Dean. They tie the brothers up. The couple prepares the boys for ritual sacrifice, but they're able to escape. The brothers quickly make some wooden stakes out of the Christmas tree and plunge them into the hearts of the couple, killing the pagan gods. Back at the motel, Sam has reconsidered celebrating Christmas. Surrounded by a few hodgepodge decorations, the brother exchanged convenience store gifts, have a drink, and watch some football. Well, there you have it. What'd you think of a very special Christmas episode?
Man, I loved it. I thought it was super fun. I've heard of this one. I've heard people refer to it a lot.
I haven't. I was like, I should know about this episode, but I haven't seen anything from it. It's classic.
It's great. I mean, I think I feel like I've heard it in association with J. Miller Tobin, our
right.
guest later,
right?
Because I think they've referred to outstanding directors who came through, as in Charles Beeson and
right.
Phil and all these guys,
right.
and then not Phil. Phil's a genius, but Phil lived with the show. He was a producer. I'm talking about guys who came in, guys and women who came in and were not associated with the show permanently, but came in and knocked it out of the park.
Yeah,
this is just one of those episodes. It's seasonally hilarious. I mean, I love the fact that the TV show did a Christmas episode that was this dark and also hilarious and also incredibly sentimental. I mean, one of the things I love about the show is it has tonal shifts all over the place,
yes.
and they all work.
It's horror movie, it's family drama, it's comedy, all those things, and all those things are in this episode, and it's done so well. I think we've had one stinker in the entire 50 episodes we've watched, and that was last week. So it's nice to get back on track. This show is just so consistently good. I loved seeing the boys as young. Those are the same actors that have played them before.
Yeah. Colin and Ridge. Yeah,
you know those.
They
know those boys.
That's their names. Yeah, Colin Ford. And Ridge Kniper.
That's Colin Ford.
Kniper. Yeah,
we know him, right?
Yeah, dude. We know Colin Ford.
Oh wow, I did not know that's who that was.
That's Colin Ford playing Jared. He's perfect playing young Jared.
Yeah, he's all grown up now.
Yeah, you want to know a little Hollywood trivia?
What?
Colin Ford plays Jared Padalecki in flashbacks on Walker.
No way. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, both those boys are great as the characters. And I just thought that was so sweet, those scenes.
Those scenes were, I mean, let's pause there and just say, you have a show that starts off so violent, like you say, and then also humorous in that classic sort of Sam and Dean kind of bantery way, and then just dives into this really beautiful brother story.
Yeah. And you feel awful for them too. They really struggled, and you see what their bond comes from in terms of Dean protecting Sam, and Sam, what Sam had to go through as a young kid. Anyway, and then the couple that plays the pagan gods, they knock it out of the park. So
they're literally pitch perfect. Marilyn Gann, Spencer Garrett. I don't know if you know Spencer Garrett. I know Spencer just from life in Los Angeles, being an actor.
I just know, just watching him, I know I've seen that guy before.
Yeah, I mean, he's always great. Marilyn was great. They were literally perfect.
Perfect. Oh my God, he's great with the pipe and everything, and.
Well, zippity doo.
Yeah.
How 1950s dad.
Yes, so much so. Now, how do you?
Hey, mister, you got a mouth on you.
How's it? Yeah, totally. How is it everyone in this episode? Oh, you mean Johnny and Sandra?
Okay, I'm going to pause 1 second. Oh no, because I'm looking at the.
You mean Barbara and Mike? Yeah, they're fantastic.
The one difference between you and me, when I read the document, I read the words that are printed there and don't make up a bunch of crap.
Wow. Okay, we both know that that's a first.
Yeah, it is. But I knew Spencer, so I wanted to be sure I could say the woman who played his wife, because I'm like, I don't want to say Spencer and the lady.
The woman who had one scene, the woman who actually sold the wreaths. Oh, you mean Luella? Yeah, it's great. Love her work.
Well, now let's circle back to how you don't know that was Colin Ford, a young man we've met and spent time with.
Yeah, because he's 5 in this, and now he's 20. I mean,
I'm pretty sure those numbers aren't right, but yeah, I know. I see where you're going.
I know we've hung out with someone who played Jensen as a young man, but that's not Colin Ford.
No, it's not Colin Ford, because he plays Sam. Yeah. What's interesting is he's perfect casting. I mean, they must have just canceled the sessions when that kid came in. He looks just like Jared.
It's crazy. When do
he was great. Everybody's great.
When do we hang out with him?
Oh, for God's sake. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Snooze Fest podcast, where Rob trips down memory lane where he actually can't remember anything.
I'm reenacting the episode where we go back to my Christmas when I'm a little kid, and I don't remember any of that. I'm wearing these glasses. Anyway, I love this episode. I really felt like they nailed it. Even at the beginning when when it says a very supernatural Christmas, I was like, oh, this is so fun.
Oh, can we? Okay, I'm glad you brought that up.
Oh, and the after school special kind of
they did the after school special thing. I don't remember. There must only be a handful of supernatural episodes that don't do the then and now part. Like almost all of them have the then and the recap of the dad.
Right.
Where the brothers are, what's going on in the story.
Right.
And there cannot be that many. I'm trying to think of any. I'm sure there are. And I know I haven't seen all the episodes. So, I guarantee you there's some other ones. But certainly it's the first that we've seen where they just dive right into the show.
Right.
And they do so with this, sort of stylized tip of your hat to an after school special. It's sort of like, immediately.
Yeah.
Like you're in for a different
it's like
journey.
Yeah. The show itself has been kind of taken over and is now wrapped in a different wrapping paper, if you will.
A couple of things about that. They did, and I know they've done the different credit sequence for changing channels. They did a sitcom credits, but this was funny because they did the after school special, spinning word special. And those who are too young won't remember that, but Rob and I do. If you're our age and you got home after school, you turn that on, you're like, oh, cool. Some cool 1 hour movie is coming on, like it's after school special.
And it was really cheesy. And there was always sort of a lesson, like don't do drugs or, don't do
a lesson Rob did not pick up on.
Yeah.
Certainly not in Christmas of 1991. But they also, did you notice in the opening credits, instead of being like this demonic thing that explodes, it was a Christmas ornament.
Oh, funny. Yeah.
Yeah. The whole thing was very tongue in cheek. It was really well done.
Oh, man. And that first murder is just brutal. That poor kid. The kid who comes down on the stairs and he's watching his like grandfather.
Oh, grandpa gets stuck up.
Yeah.
I would say that not only that kid, everybody remembers him as Jason Johnson, but there's also the, I'm kidding. I don't know who that is. I was just trying to do the I know everybody's name bit.
Well, it's Scooter
McScoots. But then the other little kid who, when they see the next murder and the little kid watches the guy go upstairs and take his dad, that kid is awesome.
That kid's great. And he's really young.
He's really young, man. And he is, I was sitting there watching that and, I got to ask Miller, like, I feel like to get the looks on that kid's face, they were probably doing something scary.
I know.
Because he looks horrified.
I know. Someone has his actual mom.
Yeah, exactly. Or they're showing him how much in taxes is being pulled out of his paycheck before it ever gets to him.
Yeah.
You're kidding me.
Yeah. It's his tutor threatening homework. So, all right. Well, it's time. The time has come to pay.
No, this is an easy one for me. I don't know where you're going to go. You're all over the map, but I'm just from creatively being unique, from its sort of out of the gate, fresh style, for tackling a 3-tone approach, horror, comedy, and plugging at the heartstrings. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but you know what I mean? The heartfelt story of the brothers as children, told in flashback, the comedy between the brothers, and even the heartfelt moments that Sam reveals that lead to these flashbacks are cool and heartbreaking. And then the horror and the comedy. I got to go with it's a Stapleton, man. I'm back on the Stapleton train.
Yeah.
Bring on the Chris Stapleton, a full one.
Yeah, I for all the same reasons that you just named, and I just thought it was a terrific episode. It had everything. Miller really knocked it out as a director. Jensen and Jared doing everything we love that they do as those characters, And it just, I was thinking about it too. That like the characters of Sam and Dean really just keep getting richer and richer as the show goes along. Where Dean doesn't get things that Sam gets. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I think I always feel like, just to sort of carve that out a little bit, I always like what the show is saying is they're smart in different ways. Is that Sam has the sort of the library book smarts and Dean has the street smarts.
Yeah.
That's how I always looked at those.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not saying Dean
levels of intelligence.
I'm not saying Dean is dumb. I'm just saying like that's just the characters are so rich and the boys play them so well. And I'm starting to see too, like the differences between Sam and Dean and Jensen and Jared. You know what I mean? I see what it is that they're doing as actors, and it's it never fails to impress me. Okay, I found this in my album collection and sent it to Rich the other day, but it's I'm showing it to the Patreon people. That's Kenny. That's full 70s Kenny Loggins.
That's Kenny Loggins right there.
That's his. He was in a band with a young man named Messina, and they were Loggins and Messina. There
There
they
they
are.
are.
And that's an actual album that I had in my album collection. Anyway, so I'm giving it the Kenny Loggins. I really love this episode. Return to form.
Two things I got to say. We're missing a trick here. I mean, we're sitting here talking about Stapleton and Loggins. Let's be honest. It's two full Santa beards, right? I mean, we got to go.
How can we
I think
not?
seasonally.
How do we miss that?
Well, I don't know, but I'm watching the flurry of posts by the Patreon folks. They're like, Santa beard, Santa beard, Santa beard, you idiots.
Yeah.
Like, right.
Yeah.
Santa beard.
Yeah.
So we're gonna just make a quick seasonal adjustment, even though it's not Christmas outside your window. A seasonal adjustment to Santa beards. Now it could be Kenny Loggins playing Santa. You know, we're not taking that away. We're not taking Loggins out of the equation.
Santa.
Or Stapleton. I'm sure he's bearded up and handed out gifts to the kids. So we're gonna go with two very full Santa beards, and not the fake beards. The real. If you pull on it, they don't stretch with the elastic.
Can't
two full Santa beards.
Right. So you're. So I'm Kenny. I'm Santa Loggins.
And I'm Santa Stapleton.
And
we're signing off.
Yeah.
No, you know, one thing I was going to say just while we're sitting in our review of this, one of the things I thought was really, really, really cool in the writing of the episode, in the directing and in the acting, is how they're starting to show how Dean, as an older brother, absorbs the most of the dad's absence.
Right.
And then tries to shield Sam. Like, it's so well done in terms of developing who that character is as a grown-up when you see that kid as a child, and the kid sleeps under, has a gun under his pillow and is also like, hey man, don't say that about dad. And you see the emotional turmoil of everything he agrees with, but feels like he's got to play the tough guy and be the shield for the little brother. It's brutal to watch. I mean, to say I didn't get choked up more than once would be a lie. I just thought it was so well written. In the middle of this comedy horror, here come these moments. And they're just so well written. They're so well, Miller got wonderful performances out of those young actors and told the story in such an honest way. And it just makes you feel for both boys.
Yes.
It really rips your heart out.
Because I was going to say, on the other side of it too, you really feel for Sam. And like, he did not have, I feel as the youngest in my family, I always felt like I was like shielded from the drama that was going on. And I feel like that's what's happening with Sam too. Like he doesn't quite know, and at the end he figures it out. He's like, Dad didn't come, did he? But
it makes you feel like you can go back, you can watch that scene, and then you can go back to early episodes in episode 1 and see Dean getting all pissed off that Sam's not coming out hunting or not helping.
Right.
And you see the seeds of that, of that person.
Yeah.
And being sort of shown here. And it's just so
and with Sam, you see the resentment of his father and where that comes from, Yeah. I'd be mad too.
Yeah, it's really brutal. And then he sort of, Dean takes it on Sam sometimes. Sam takes it on Dean sometimes. And they're both just little boys who are living a parent-free existence in those moments and trying their best to be, kids and grown-ups, but they have to lean on the grown-up part because they're not allowed to be children. It's really gut-wrenching, man.
Yeah. And, this is their last Christmas together. Sad that show's about to be over.
Season 3 was it. Yeah, that they all tied it all up at the end of season 3. As far as we know, because we haven't watched it.
Yeah.
All right, that was a great episode of television, and two very full Santa beards, for this episode. Can't do better than that.
Thank you to our Patreon people for joining us for that summary. All right, we have a returning guest. We're so delighted to have with us J. Miller Tobin, who directed this is his second episode. It's great to have you back on our show.
Thank
and it's
you
great
very
to
much.
have you back shooting another episode. And I just want to say that Richard and I love this episode.
Yeah, man.
It's such a great
I feel
episode.
like I won the lottery when I got this one. I mean, again, I had done the first one, which we talked about before, and there was no guarantee I was coming back. And then, of course, I got invited back. I was very excited. And then I read this, and I was like, am I doing the same show? Where did this come from? But it was, and correct me if I'm wrong, you guys know better than I do. I think this is one of the very first sort of.
The first that went fully, like in our review, no opening like flashback to tell the story of what's going on. It dives into this immediately
special,
style.
Well, it literally says special presentation. Like
yes.
I mean, it's not a meta episode like some of the other ones, like this.
Right.
Or the Monster
but it's
Mash
close.
Or Baby, but it's suddenly, you're suddenly off in left field because it's been very sort of linear up till now, right? It's been Case of the Week that you're tracking with the brothers and their relationship and exploring that with the dad, which this does too.
Yeah.
But it's like all of a sudden you're in Christmas land. Like it's totally out of left field.
And so was that in the script that like, the way you did that from the real old like when we were kids, the special events, the special, Christmas special. Was that in the script that you?
I honestly don't remember if that was like sort of one of the tags, but it was very clear what we were doing, that there were two very distinct worlds that we were telling. We were telling the idealized, father knows best 50s style Christmas. Now it would be Hallmark. Now we would call it a Hallmark Christmas, right? Where everything's perfect and the snow is just floating gently, and the trees are beautiful. Everything's just gorgeous, and and the decorations are impeccable. Set against the monster, against the bloody Santa and the basement, which was a blast.
Yeah.
I got to ask, because we read in our trivia that the flashback to the young men, to the young Sam and Dean, wasn't in the original draft of the script. So when you got it, were those segments already there?
That was all there. Yeah, that was in the production draft for sure.
Okay, I think this episode does something, and I'm telling you, like obviously we love a lot of these episodes, and we're like, oh, this is great, this is kind of great, but it's great to have you here on the heels of one that this blew us away because you helmed it, and I got to toot your horn on this one. This is not a no-brainer. This is not a hole-in-one. You could have shit the bed massively on this thing.
Believe me, I know.
Because it has 3 complete different tonal shifts in it.
Yes,
3.
absolutely.
You've got the horror, it has to be legit, right? You've got comedy out the wazoo.
Over the top. I mean, again, to me, that was like, this was, again, where we were in Dangerland, or,
Right.
But they kept saying, you can't go for it. Don't, let them go. And you say that to Jensen and Jared, and they go.
Yeah, man. So, and then you had obviously the sentimental part, which was so unbelievably powerful. Some of the best we've seen.
Those kids, again, I sort of got really lucky. We auditioned a bunch of kids, but those 2 kids were really remarkable. I mean, and I know they came back a number of times.
Yeah.
But especially young Dean, I thought that guy, he's probably 40 now. I don't know. That was a while ago. But
Ridge.
He really felt like he was in the skin of young Dean.
It's funny that you're saying exactly what we said in our review. I was like, obviously, Colin Ford as
both of those guys,
as Jared is great, as Sam, but that kid Ridge really brought that tormented. I want my dad to love me. I want you to shut up. I want you to love me. I want to balance the two.
I'll protect you with my life, but I'm not going to say a word to you.
Yeah. I thought he did such a good job. It was so well written, but that's tough in the hands of kids. And so you had to have your head on a swivel, man, because you got Spencer and the other actress playing that unbelievably great 1950s Ozzie and Harriet comedy.
Well, again, working with Spencer's a joy. I've worked with him a bunch, but again, this is very different than the stuff I'd done. But he always sort of plays a little bit of the heavy or the office boss or
right.
And this was like, again, completely over the top. With the pipe and the half smile and the sort of
so good
stuck up shoulder. I mean, he was hilarious.
Yeah,
the 2 of them were amazing. They were fantastic.
They really were, and and that really makes the episode. I mean,
those sweaters that they wear were designed by Diane. What's her Diane?
Oh, Diane, Diane left the show so long ago. Gosh darn, I don't remember her. We'll look up her last name and get it on here.
Wheatus, I think, something like that. But again, listen, this was a show that was a absolute utter gift to the art department and the costume department. I mean, the wardrobe department, because they went crazy. I mean, they read this and they're like, their eyes lit up. They're like,
right,
I know where to get all of this Christmas stuff, and we're going to design sweaters that are, they went nuts. And of course, Jerry Wanick does brilliant work no matter what. But
right,
the polar opposites of dressing the basement with body parts and then dressing the upstairs with just the absolutely impeccable idealized Christmas.
Right.
Yes.
And again, that little kid from the kidnap scene is just
how good is that kid? We talked about that.
Great.
How good is that kid? I thought Miller must have been wearing like a devil mask going off camera just to get like.
I did talk him through a bunch of that stuff. I mean, but he was so sweet. He was a sweetheart. You can tell by looking at his face. He really was trying hard, and he actually kind of knew what he was doing. But just saying, all right, here we go, ready, 2, 3. You see, or having somebody jump, or I would boo, or just to give him something to react to, and he did. It was brilliant. He was absolutely wonderful.
Our joke during the interview was you must have been off screen showing him the Canadian taxes being pulled out of his paycheck. What? Oh no! Showing him what healthcare costs in America. Here, look. I can't. Oh God. So there's so much that had to be balanced in this. And one of the things you just mentioned, I have to circle back to. It was one of the more gruesome, crime scenes we've seen.
Yeah.
We've seen vampires and stuff that, like, we've seen gross, we've seen beheadings, we've seen
Sure.
some violence, but just pure art department, like there was a lot of meat on a lot of those bones down there. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
That's great. Is that, I mean, obviously it's on purpose, but was it on purpose to be, you lulled us into a sense of it won't be that gross because look what else is going on. And then it
Right.
becomes incredibly gross and violent.
Well, and we very carefully sort of choreographed the reveals with the flashlight. And it's interesting when I watched this again to get ready for this, and I actually was surprised at how much I used, between Serge and everybody else, but we used a really fluid camera in a lot of this. I mean, even, in a lot of those things, and it's kind of unusual. I mean, a lot of Steadicam shots, a lot of pan. And again, mostly it was about reveals. It was mostly about, giving information and telling story. Like you'd start on something and you'd pan up and then you'd suddenly see a room that was beautifully decorated. Or in this case, you start down the stairs and then you follow the flashlight as it grabs these little bits and pieces of just incredible gore,
Right.
like just dripping,
Yeah.
literally dripping.
Yeah.
And again, I think audiences now are more used to stuff with movies like Hostel and all of that. There's a little bit more, but
Sure.
this was a while ago, so this was a little more shocking, especially for television.
Yeah.
This was pretty gruesome, Rich. I think
You don't,
you're right.
it's not every
Yeah,
day
man.
you see a fingernail being ripped out.
That's what
yeah.
I'm saying. Like that,
Prime
like
time.
let's not skip over that. That was brutal. And of course it's
That was
off
really-
when they go into the pliers and I'm thinking to myself, please stay off screen. But no, Miller.
Oh, no.
You had to
Oh,
cut
no.
down to the fingernail coming off. The sticky goo. Ooh.
I was even like, well, it's not going to happen. He's going to be
you can't-
rescued.
you
There's
can't
not
see
going
that. Supernatural is great for that. Just to the point where you say, well, we can't see that. Then
Yeah.
you see that.
You see it. Yeah. Was that ever early in the show? Was that ever a struggle with what you could show and what you couldn't show?
Not that I remember particularly. Again, especially when we got into the horror. Again, I vaguely remember like the marching orders on this are you can't go too far, like in any
Wow.
direction. Like with
Wow.
the idealized Christmas, with the gore. I mean, that was sort of the counterpoints
Yeah.
of all of that. Was that, and then again the slicked up, bloody leather Santa costume.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's so
Disgusting.
brutal.
God.
the bloody
It's
boots.
disgusting. Yeah,
It's
Again,
it's
with
gro-
the-
it's gross because it's Christmas, which is everything that is good.
right.
And secondly, it feels real. It doesn't feel like a ghost. It feels like a serial killer.
Right.
And that's what's kind of terrifying.
Well, and
about
also you
this.
see, there's an interesting point where again, I don't remember how this came about, but we see just the boots and the pieces of the costume. But there's a point where when he reaches for the cookie with the little boy, we actually see that it's a human hand, like it's a
Right. It's not a
and up until
claw.
then, you're not sure what exactly. It's not a claw. It's not
Right,
like some
right,
witchy
right,
thing. It's like
right.
it's like a human
It's-
hand,
It-
which
yeah,
I found
yeah.
and when I was watching the show again all these years later. I was like, oh, that's kind of surprising. That kind of took me
Yeah,
aback a
yeah.
little bit.
And again,
Yeah.
it's like this really weird balance of comedy and drama because that little kid is selling the horror 110%. And we think that kid's going to get snatched or we think whatever.
Exactly. And that look when he's looking up just before he reaches for the cookie. I mean, you think you're going to see another blood splatter against the wall or something.
Yeah.
And the whole time I'm thinking Miller's a monster. Miller's a monster. The monster of this episode is Miller because
Well,
he's going to kill this child.
The thing that made me most uncomfortable about the whole show, all the rest of it was fine. Even I'm pretty good working with kids. I actually, I like kids. I enjoy it. And the kids don't end up on your set unless they've got some sort of talent. You just have to figure out how to talk to them.
Unlike us
Yeah.
grown-ups.
Unlike grown-ups who just it's luck of the draw. But the whole thing of dragging the person down the stairs in the bag. I mean that
Oh,
we
yeah.
had a stunt person. We had a
No, you
little
didn't.
Yeah, we did. We had a little stunt person in that bag who was dragged down the stairs, and I can't remember. I don't remember that person's name. They were so willing, and Lou Bolo, the stunt coordinator, is amazing. He found somebody who was just totally gung ho and willing to do it, whatever we needed to do.
Wow.
Kicking and screaming the whole time in that horrible, bloody, Santa sack.
Oh my God.
But that thing, I don't know why that rattled me. I was just so
Yeah.
that made me so nervous, like dragging somebody down the stairs in a bag where they can't see, they can hardly breathe. They're, and then he's still doing his whole thing.
The great
Wow.
the great joke you
Brutal.
do there is drag him down the stairs, boom, 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 all the stairs, all the turn, get around the corner, and you're like, Kyle, you okay? Yeah, I'm good. Okay, let's shoot one. What? What do you mean shoot one?
Just hold that thought. We're coming right back.
Hey, this is Richard Spate. You know what? It's 2024. It's a brand new year, and I bet you made some New Year's resolutions, and I bet one of them was to eat healthier. Well, you can get cranking on that resolution right now, my friend, with Factor.
Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, the prep work, the cooking fatigue. I'm getting tired just talking about it. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan, and veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you will have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart this resolution off right. Forget frantic lunch prep and rush dinner making. That stinks. Factor's 2-minute meals, yes, I said 2 minutes, are your secret weapon in the new year. You get to fuel up fast with restaurant-quality meals all delivered right to your door. It doesn't get any easier than that. And Factor now offers loads of snack options like breakfast, smoothies, juices, snacks, and more to keep you going no matter what's on the schedule. So I know what you're asking. Rich, how do I tap into this Factor magic? You head to factormeals.com/SPNTAN50 and use code SPNTAN50 to get 50% off. That's a lot off. That's code SPNTAN50 at factormeals.com/SPNTAN50 for 50% off. Make that resolution happen now and make it happen at a discount. Fantastic food that's healthy and delicious and delivered right to my door. Now that is how you start the new year off right.
Early contests build momentum for 2024 contenders seeking the White House. C-SPAN offers unfiltered coverage of events leading into early primaries and caucuses. Get access to speeches and results with the free app, C-SPAN Now, or watch live on the C-SPAN networks.
And we're back. So the rumors have it that Jared surprised Jensen with real rum eggnog in the final scene. Do you remember?
I don't remember that.
I'm just hearing it for the first time.
Last time where I was shooting over the Christmas break and things got a little saucy.
Yes.
Right before everybody went on holiday. I don't remember that, but it's entirely possible that is absolutely not off limits. I don't remember that per se, but
I'm just reading it for the first time here, but it sounds that scans.
For starters, I mean, it's a little bit like saying, rumor has it that the sun rose almost every day. Is that true?
We're talking about two Texas boys. They're not afraid of a little drink.
No, pre-married in their 20s, with big fat paychecks coming in.
Oh, yeah.
Bring on the eggnog. That's what I say. Hey, what is the dumb question? But when was the shot? Is this October? Like when were you doing this?
It was definitely, but it was probably episode 8. What was it ahead? Actually,
it is 8.
Yeah,
8.
It aired in December 13th.
October.
So yeah,
it aired really quickly. I mean, it was October into November, so it was right before. Then this aired it was the last show before the Christmas break on the broadcast schedule. Obviously,
Okay.
They wanted it for Christmas.
Right.
It's held up as one of. So this is season 3. I mean, it's a tentpole Christmas episode for a show that had 15 of them. It's the one.
Really? Yeah.
Well, yeah, you think they had 15?
Oh, yeah, right. Sure.
15 shows. I'm not sure they did Christmas ones per se every time, but obviously they followed the calendar, so to speak. And this one just stood out, and it has with the fandom since Rob and I joined it. I mean, since we became part of the show, people have always referenced this. One of my favorite things. I'm curious if you had a hand in this as well is. And this it may have happened before, or since, but it's the first time I remember seeing not the crazy ball of smoke for the supernatural, but they used an ornament.
Christmas?
The ornament explodes. And I'm like, that's so clever. Was that a you thing?
No, that was them. That was just a take. But again, we knew from the get-go that this was going to be this, I thought it was going to be kind of a one-off. I mean, this became sort of a thing that Supernatural did many, many times and in much more extreme ways when you got into the big meta episodes. But it was like, again, I was sort of at this. I was like, what are we, again, this doesn't feel like the same show, really.
Well,
we're doing something entirely different here, which was a blast.
I think that the show, Bob Singer talked about how that when they did episodes early on, he was the first one to really test Jensen's comedy. How can we do this on camera? Can it work and still be Dean? And it worked. In this case, I think you got the hardest one thus far in terms of three concurrently functioning switches that you had to hit all 3 of these things, because you'll be in the middle of a kind of a humorous brother conversation, and Jared's character Sam will just take it into a memory that totally
It's
changes.
Yeah, right. It's completely different.
That's not. I think it looks easy to people watching. It looks easy. That's not easy. It's not easy to stage. It's not easy to perform.
And you have to really, again, this was the one where I had to really be conscious of the ins and outs of scenes, like how you, again, those transitions, those flashbacks, and you don't want to come in too hard to, again, this is all on the page. I couldn't ignore what was on the page. It was written this way, but visually you have to sort of ease into those flashbacks so that there's not, again, that shock or sort of brutal switch of tone. You have to be able to slide into it a little bit and lead the audience at that point, right? You want to lead them a little bit.
Sure.
Like,
right.
we're going somewhere new now. Hang on, just, sit tight. Here we go.
Right. How about so when you get you have two scenes where Bad Santa comes down the chimney, right?
Right.
I think we have two of those scenes. Is it your choice to go, okay, I just want to show this bit of him? Because part of what's scary there is, like you see the bloody sleeve, you see his feet, you see something being yanked up the chimney or whatever it is. Like, is it your choice to show, okay, I don't want to see his face. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, so, again, some of that was on the page. I'm sure we just talked about it in the tone meeting in terms of how we're going to do this. Again, and again, this showed there's a lot of slow reveals that were sort of built into the script. And again, not knowing what the creature was, just indicating this is something horrible, again, with the bloody boots and all of that. So something just horrifying. But again, not then actually seeing what it was until much later. And then when we see it, they're these incredibly sweet, ridiculously lovely, older couple.
Yeah.
I would love to have seen that couple come back. I mean, I knew it wasn't destined with the death.
They ended up with pine boughs in their hearts. So,
But God, they were funny. They were just great.
I actually have a hilarious picture of the two of them standing side by side, sort of like Superman with their hands on their hips with their pine boughs like sticking out of their chest. They were tied on by the FX department.
The slow reveal of it being them, it's really well done. And as a viewer, you almost take it for granted. But you're setting it up the whole episode by giving us little hints here and there, little glimpses, shots of a sleeve as opposed to a full body that comes down.
The boots, those creepy boots. One of the things I thought was funny too also is how, and this is just, it's dated, but I thought you handled it really well, Miller, even given the fact that you shot it long ago, is that when they're in the shop asking about wreaths, there's some sort of weird, challenge to their masculinity that they're asking about Christmas trees, which makes no sense. But
no sense whatsoever. But it's like, again, it feels like Dean is just torturing Sam.
Yeah,
we don't even understand why. It just happens, but it's funny.
It's really super funny, and I think it's aged well. And a lot of those jokes don't. My point, however you had them play it or whatever your ideas were. It doesn't become a completely dated, you know what I mean? Some of those jokes just don't carry over well in the decades later. So another detail question. When the pine bough is in the chest and you tip down to find the ornament on it, is that you or is it written that way?
I honestly don't remember.
That was super clever. That was super clever.
That may have been us.
It felt like you. I'm going to be honest. It just felt like a director detail to me. Because you come down.
I'm going to go ahead and say it was you. I'm going to say it was you.
All right, I'll take credit for it. That's fine.
The classic Miller pine bough ornament shot.
It's buried in the chest routine.
Yeah. What do you remember about being do you have a favorite memory overall just about that experience, aside from getting a script and realizing you had that material to work with?
I think ultimately it was the extremes of the two worlds, like we've said many times. Just the absolute beauty, like that house that we shot in with the kid. It was I forget the part of Vancouver, but it's that part of town, Queens something, where they just have these incredible Victorian mansions. That was a beautiful house. So you have the joy of shooting somewhere like that, that's insanely beautiful, and then you have the quote unquote joy of shooting in a set like the basement set, which is all just blood and gore, and you're just trying to figure out how to tell that story. And again, the jump scare at the end with the bag. But the thing that I always walk away with is I love those scenes with the kids, and I love the ending with Sam and Dean. The emotion of all of that is really where you end up hanging your hat, because that's as with all stories, that's where you end up caring the most, is about your characters. Yeah. And the flashbacks that lead to that final moment. And something I had forgotten completely is that, of course, hanging over all this, and it's only referenced a couple of times, hanging over all this is that Dean has given up his soul to save Sam's life, right? That's the reference. Right. You won't be here next year. So right. There's actually a lot of melancholy hanging over all of those scenes. So the emotion that we really had to pay off the emotion of that stuff, like that really had to land. in order to justify the all the rest of it, because all the rest of it is so extreme. You needed something. And again, I'm really proud of the ending. I think those two guys just absolutely nailed it. And you end up a little choked up, right? I mean,
You do.
Oh, you can't. It's an absolute choke up episode.
Yeah.
From the boys to, that's why it was so weird. If you're a newcomer and you're watching it, you're like, Sam and Dean, the old Christmas argument, crazy crime, here they go. And then you just nose dive into this drama and you're like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. And you keep going back into it. You just did a great job, man. It could have easily been too heavy on one side or the other, and it was not.
For me, if just answering your question again, I'm going to repeat it. It's basically, if I'm proud of any of it, it's what feels like real emotion between the two boys, which then mirrors and becomes the real emotion between Sam and Dean at the end, which again, I just, that makes me happy. As a director, that's always the stuff that you feel like, oh, I scored, I won. The story, the visual storytelling, we all do on a regular basis. But when you get those little emotional moments that really pay off, you're just like, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Great.
And we know, and our audience knows now from listening to us, how fast you're moving. Like you're a freight train. And it's not like you spent all day getting that. You had an hour and a half. You had whatever you had to do the whole scene. And to be able to, I do think, again, to pat you on the back, I think a lot of that comes from, obviously you have two pros in Jared and Jensen, but you get guest directors where we are all visitors in somebody else's house.
Right.
And to have the confidence to sort of not let the clock and drive you. Not let the other elements drive you, but stay in the mud, get the performance, and then move on. And I think it takes a talented and patient and seasoned hand to know when to fish and when to cut bait.
Well, and that's exactly right. And when you're building the schedule, like when you're when you're doing just purely visual storytelling, like again, the stair sequence with the little boy, and you're really just looking for image to tell that story. I mean, you're creating a horror scene essentially, but that you can, it takes time because there's so many elements. There's the guy in the bag and there's this, and there you're working with the kid, but like when the camera picks up or gets the information that you want to get, you got it, and you can sort of keep going. You just sort of motor through that. You can motor through that stuff and have time to maybe find a little bit of extra here and there. The stuff you can't rush are those scenes, like with the boys on the couch and with Sam and Dean at the end. That's where I start getting really protective of them and also protective of my time. Like, we have to get this right. This is what we have to work on.
I'm sure you've had this experience, and just sort of dive into the technical a little bit. And you work with to explain to folks, you work with your AD, your first assistant director, to come up with your schedule. And so Miller would work side by side with this person
Johnny Mac. Yeah.
Johnny Mac. Okay, great. The great Johnny Mac, to come up with the time allotment. And, you have some choice there, some wiggle room, but not a ton based on like schedule and losing light. But you really have to carve it out. You have to know when to carve it out for those drama moments. And I've been in those moments where the AD is like, wow, this scene's taking longer than I had scheduled for. I'm like, yes, because you allotted time for two people to walk in a room, speak, and leave. But you've got to carve out the actual acting.
Exactly. I mean, Johnny's not guilty of that. To give him due credit.
No, not Johnny. He was not.
Yeah,
not
he's very aware and also very protective.
And not Kevin Parks, not the supernatural guy.
That's
I'm
true.
just saying in general.
But in general, right? If you look at a scene and it's two kids sitting on a couch talking for a page and a half, you're thinking, oh, well, we can knock that out, right? That's not going to take any time at all. But then you're forgetting that you have to do, you're really working with these kids, you're rehearsing, you're trying to find those beats, you're trying to find those moments. And, you don't always get all of it in one take, right? I mean, that's the magic of editing, is that you can build those performances to a certain degree. But of course you want to achieve that on set, because there's some consistency there. Yeah. And adult actors are much more accustomed to that. They'll take a note and ingest it, and it will be there each time moving forward, ideally. Right. But kids aren't that consistent. Kids aren't. They can be, but not always. A lot of times you'll get a little bite here and a little bite there, and then you can meld that together to make the performance that you were hoping for or looking for. In the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just experience, knowing the difference, knowing when you're going to need that extra time.
Yeah, and again, I get that's the one place I'll get a little fussy. I'm highly sensitive to the schedule and wanting. I was an AD I was an AD for 20 years, so it's built into my DNA to be responsible to the schedule. But the one time that I get defensive of my time is when I'm working with again on scenes like that. I'm like, this is where we have to slow down, take the pressure off the actors, take a breath. Yeah, carve this out and make it work. So yeah, and again, in this case, it worked beautifully. I mean, all across the boards, I think.
Great, I agree.
I agree too.
Good, we're in unison.
Yeah. This would be a weird time to say we don't agree. No, it was great.
One of our favorite. One of our favorite episodes so far. So Congratulations. Kudos.
Yeah, you're
Thank
2 for
you.
2, man, and you're
I
directing
know,
a
2 good
Supernatural.
ones, right? I got lucky.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love hearing your perspective on it all. And so you were involved in casting those 2 young actors. Is that right?
Yeah. I think. Well, no, actually, it was.
Did you
had they
inherit
done-
them?
I think I.
Yeah, they had done.
I think they had done
young,
one more before.
Young Sam and Dean. Yeah, those guys had been on.
I think
it
this
before.
is the second flashback episode. If
Oh.
I'm not mistaken, I think there's at least
Yeah.
one before this.
You did great work with them, man. You got great performances out of 2 very talented young men, and
Yeah, they're fantastic.
and great performances out of Jared and Jensen, who are always talented when they're not nipping at the
You know,
eggnog.
No, but they're also to give them props. They're aware when these scenes have to land. They know the show, and they know that when we have these beats, and they don't come often. I mean, you don't get these really heart to hearts. You get them occasionally,
Right.
but they know when they have to protect the show and make this work. And they'll dig in too, and they'll work it, and they also know when they can throw it away and keep moving, which they will do. But when it's time to stand and deliver, they absolutely will do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so true. Every time.
Every time.
Well, Miller, thank you again
Yeah,
so
man.
much for coming back and talking with us.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Please do. You have another one, right?
I have at least
Couple more. Yeah. So you're
Couple
not
more.
off the hook yet. You'll come
All
back
Good.
and talk
Okay,
to us.
You'll
that
come
makes
back.
me happy.
But this was
Yeah.
so great, and it's such a great episode. It lives large in the sort of canon of supernatural
I
greats.
love that.
Yeah, and you did good, kid.
Good. Thanks, pal.
Thank you for being here, as always. The great J. Miller Tobin.
All right. Excellent.
Hey there, this is Jensen. I hope you're enjoying the episode, but we need to pull over for a second for some messages, and I gotta take a leak. Thanks for supporting Supernatural then and now. And now, back to the show.
All right, it's time for mythology. Evil Santa. All right, let's talk about Evil Santa. Sam mentions there's some version of the Anti-Claus in every culture. The brothers specifically mention a few. There is old Belsnickel. That's right, Belsnickel. I'm going to read this as written. Belsnickel, originating from the Palatinate region of Europe. Palatinate.
Well, it's like the Palatine. I mean, I don't know, man. Palatinate is not a word I'm familiar with.
He is thought to be a companion of Santa's. He's Santa's buddy.
Oh, he's a sidekick. Like a sidekick.
Yeah. He's often depicted as wearing grimy animal furs and antlers on his head. Tradition has him appearing weeks before Christmas.
He sounds like a drunk sidekick.
Yeah, he carries a switch to use on naughty children.
Like
He
a
also
switchblade?
No, like a stick.
Oh.
He also has cakes and treats in his pocket to give to good children.
And he drives a van with no windows.
Yeah, and he serves as a reminder to children that there's still time to get on the nice list before Christmas. The tradition is still celebrated in parts of the U.S., including Pennsylvania.
That seems ridiculous. If you live in Pennsylvania, we're taking calls. Call us in. Call us and let us know why, in God's name, in Pennsylvania, did you embrace this Belsnickel fella?
It's time for Belsnickel, kids. Belsnickel.
Boy, if I had a Belsnickel for every time we talked about Belsnickel, I'd have one nickel.
I've been wanting to go to the Palatinate region of Europe for some time.
Oh, Robbie, I can't run anymore. I can't breathe. I got a bad Krampus. That's a segue for you.
Krampus, originating from Alpine folklore.
Folklore.
Krampus is half goat, half demon.
Frida says Krampus is half goat, half demon.
His name originates from the German word for claw.
Yeah, the German word for claw.
Traditions vary on how he treats naughty children.
Not very nice, I tell you that.
Some say he beats them, others say he eats them.
I stand by my early statement, not very nice.
Still others say he comes to drag bad children to hell.
Well, that's what they deserve. Honor your parents or go to hell.
As Christmas became associated with Christianity, the Catholic Church tried to bane him. Or ban him. And there's lots of movies. There's a movie called Krampus. I think there's probably sequels as well. That he's certainly, I mean, anytime the evil version of Santa is just especially evil to me. Because Santa's like the most giving, nice person that a little kid can imagine.
You think of Santa, you think of like somebody who just like give gifts annually.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's right.
For no reason except for the fact that they think you're pretty good.
Next time you're kind of a jerk to me, I'm going to say, stop being such a Belsnickel.
And I'm going to say, well, Rob, why don't you take the kids to hell? You know, it's just like the Catholic Church and Christianity in general. To spoil the party, come in and pee on the spark plug and ruin it for everybody. You got a guy like Krampus taking the bad children to hell, maybe beating them, maybe eating them, and then here come the Christians. Oh, we're going to ruin that and stop Krampus from taking kids to hell for being bad. No more beating, no more eating. Yeah, thanks a lot for coming to the party, Christians, ruining it for everybody.
Wow. We've got a letter here from the Catholic Church. Have to read this on air.
Hey, listen, we got to do everybody's opinion. That's the Krampus opinion, not my opinion. I'm just giving you what Krampus is probably thinking.
I got it. Oh, the worst Krampus.
Well, enough of this one. Robbie, take us to the next one.
All right, hold you in the car.
Hold on, let me get my why would my car be here, Nick? Oh, I see what you did. Nick Carr. You're so clever.
Yeah, because the next character is called Hold Nikar. He was the Scandinavian god of the winter solstice. It was believed he flew through the sky, granting favors to his worshippers below. Many believe Santa Claus's traditions were appropriated from him. This is the demon Sam believes they're dealing with in this
Can we
episode.
just pause 1 second and think about Mr. and Mrs. Nikar, who decided to name their child Hold?
Yeah. Yeah.
I assume his full name is Holden. And I'm going to guess that the Nikars were big fans of Catcher in the Rye. I'm just going to assume. Because where else would you get the name Holden? I think that's where it sort of got its popularity. So let's just call him by his full name and not just give him a nickname. His Holden Nikar. Thank you.
I have to say, I've never been a Nikar fan. It's too bitter for me. So I always get my martini Holden Nikar.
You and I used to fire up some Nikar after a long night of liquor. Back in our youth.
Let me pull the Nikar around and then I'll take you over to. Anyway, that was that. Okay. Fun facts. The opening special logo appeared on many CBS holiday specials in the 70s and 80s. It's that actual logo.
I know, but we just brings up our failing in our review. We're like, the after school special logo, which was its own logo. This is different.
Right, but it's the same idea. I mean,
yeah, same idea. You're right.
Oh, man, the fingernail thing. We haven't talked about that.
No, sir. No, thank you.
The tool used to pull off Sam's fingernail is a pair of fencing pliers.
You know what? Leave them for the fencing. Yeah, I think it's for putting barbed wire on fence posts. But
as in, like, on guard.
Exactly, because when you're sword fighting somebody, you never know when you might need a specific pair of pliers.
Right.
To pull the sword out from your gullet.
Why don't you tell us about Sam and Dean's motel room?
Well, Sam and Dean's motel room door says the Thomas Kincaid suite. This same year, Jared Padalecki played Thomas Kincaid in the holiday film The Christmas Cottage.
Oh, wow.
Remember Thomas Kincaid did paintings with light. You get Christmas cards that have Thomas Kincaid paintings. He did. You've seen his stuff, man, because it's a big cottage industry. Thomas Kincaid sells all these holiday things. It'll be a picture of a cabin in the woods, and miraculously, the way he uses white and yellow paints and whatever he does, I don't know the secret, gives like the candle. It looks like it's actually illuminated. The stars are actually illuminated, so they call it his painting with light. Sold in malls. Like the guy sells an unimaginable amount of art to.
So Americans. He's rich. So is it a biopic when Padalecki played Kincaid? He actually played the dude, or was his name just coincidentally?
You know, I think they're saying he played Thomas Kincaid, the painter.
The flashbacks to 1991 weren't in the original draft of the script. Interesting.
Oh, that's interesting.
And they really tie the episode together.
Yeah, they really keep it from being just a sort of holiday joke episode. That was smart, whoever did that.
Yeah. It was written by Jeremy Carver. So good.
Of course. One of the best.
Yeah.
Well, this is a great episode, man. We got to review another great episode. It's nice to bounce back from Ghost Crap, the one we didn't like. So
it was great. It was great to bounce back and interesting to see watch a holiday episode a month past Christmas. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it really brought the spirit, rushing back into my heart and mind. It being in the rearview mirror now. But very, very great episode. Will stand the test of time as another great episode of Supernatural, one that combines heart and humor and horror seamlessly.
Yeah, I would put it up there as a classic episode.
For sure. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. And, we'll see you next week.
We certainly will. This episode of Supernatural features Jared Padalecki as Sam Winchester and Jensen Ackles as Dean Winchester.
Guest stars included Marilyn Gann, Spencer Garrett, Colin Ford, and Ridge Kenight.
A Very Supernatural Christmas was written by Jeremy Carver, directed by J. Miller Tobin.
Editing by Tom McQuaid, music by Jay Greska.
Executive produced by Eric Kripke and Robert Singer.
The original broadcast of this episode featured many of your favorite holiday jingles, including Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas.
Jingle bells, jingle bells.
Silent night, holy night, corrupt.
Joy to the world, all the boys and girls. Joy to the fishes in the deep blue sea.
Wrong
and joy
one.
to you and me.
Wrong. This episode originally aired on December 13th, 2007.
This episode of Supernatural Then and Now was hosted and executive produced by Richard Spade Jr. and Rob Benedict.
Produced by Stephen Hine, written by Stephen Hine and Haida Holscher.
And edited and associate produced by Trey Booty.
What's up, Booty? Ho, ho, ho. Trey Booty.
Music provided by Tim Wynn.
Trying to be seasonal with Trey Booty.
Yeah.
The episode was recorded with the help of Sonic Fuel Studios.
This podcast is from Story Mill Media.
Follow the podcast on Instagram and Twitter, why don't you, at SPN Then and Now.
And become a member of the podcast at www.patreon.com/SPN Then and Now. It's Christmas time, and Sam and Dean head to Michigan to investigate several disappearances where the victims were brutally
They were brutally brutal. How did you read Meadow Street as Meadow
honestly, these
Street?
glasses don't work so great. They look good. But
I got to tell you something.
I can't read a damn thing.
I'm speaking for everybody on the podcast. I'm speaking for people who don't know we have a podcast. It doesn't matter if the glasses work or not. Keep the glasses.
Okay, I'm keeping them.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if they fog everything out and you drive your car to a bridge abutment and send family and friends through the windshield because you were speeding to start with and then rammed into a concrete pillar. It doesn't matter.
No.
When they find your body, they're going to go, oof,
Yeah.
he died wearing those glasses.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, meet me on Meadow Street.
May we also say, for people who can't see what we're reading, because nobody can but us, thank you, Steve, for making it 0.4 font. That was a nice break from the tradition of a readable font, like everything else in this document. But literally, you shrank this thing down to be on a grain of rice. I know that Steve wants us to wrap it up. But you know what? We're going to do that again. And I want, Trey, keep it all. Now we're going to do it as a medley, handing off song to song, seamlessly, without any rehearsal. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Robin Rich, Sing the Christmas Classic. Classics. Robin Rich, Christmas Classics, take one. Have yourself a merry little Christmas.
Jingle bells, jingle all the
Silent night, holy night.
joy to the world, all the boys and girls. Joy to the fishes in the deep blue sea, and joy to you and
deck the halls with balls of holly. La 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 la.
oh, come all ye faithful.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas. You're
We
welcome.
could have done so much better. It was like, wow. I mean, reading
that was
them and
great.
trying to sing them. Well, we started out great, but then we just fell apart because you're not singing Deck. Your Joy to the World is throwing everybody off, except for Hoyt Axon, who now gets our royalty check.
And also who covered that song? The
Three Dog Night.
Three Dog Night. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a little something for nobody.
They're a little turd you can wrap up and hand to nobody.
Story Mill Media.